Hi, my friends. Welcome into Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll, and today I'm sharing with you a conversation with one of my favorite Catholic comedians. Here we are in our Catholic Comedians series, and the good old Aaron Weber, our the most common sighting here in our Catholic Comedians series, came back again. We talked about some of our favorite holiday traditions. We talked about just the meteoric rise that he has had in the comedy scene, and then we me, him, and Father Anthony Sciarappa trying to our best to add some levity to our good old Catholic faith. We hope that you enjoy this conversation. If you do, make sure you hit subscribe, check out our other Catholic comedians videos and the podcast, which this came from, Forte Catholic. So we hope that you enjoy, and without further ado, here's Father Anthony and the good old Aaron Weber. One little disclaimer is we talk about some Christmas traditions that you may or may not want your kids around for. So nothing inappropriate, but I think if you're a parent, you're picking up my drift. So we do give some warning for that, but Anthony gives like a 1-minute warning, but we ended up talking about it for like 5 to 10 minutes. So if you have kids around, you might want to hit pause and come back to this one later. Again, nothing inappropriate, just trying to make you not mad at us. All right, enjoy our conversation with the great Aaron Weber. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll. That is Father Anthony Sciarappa. We are joined, like we always are, on our Christmas episode ever since 2018. Comedian Aaron Weber is here. Hello, Aaron.
All right. Has it been that long?
It really has. So
it's wild.
I really enjoy doing the show with you every year. Father Anthony and I look forward to doing it together with you every year. And I want you to know that today you're joining special company. The company that you're joining today, Aaron, involves the names of Tom Hanks, Tina Fey, Drew Barrymore, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Steve Martin, Emma Stone, and now Aaron Weber. Welcome to the Five Timers Club, my friend.
I don't think that's quite what you think it is.
What is that a list of? Is that Epstein's client list that just got leaked?
I hope you're not on that. If you did, you'd be outing yourself there. So the Five Timers Club on SNL, it's the 5 times hosting, and now you're 5 times being the guest. You're the fifth time being on this show. I'm just comparing this show to SNL. I mean, it's almost the same thing.
Yeah, 2 beloved cultural institutions. I'm trying to get to John Goodman numbers, dude. I'm trying to get 13.
Is that how many times he was on?
I think so. A Goodman's dozen. I think that was the joke he made. So, yeah. 8 years from now, I'll be caught up.
Well, I hope we're all still doing what we're doing 8 years from now. Especially Anthony, like his is the most permanent. I hope he's still doing what he's doing.
Yeah. Something has gone horribly wrong if I'm if not wearing this, and then it's yikes. Yeah.
So I was thinking a lot as we were like prepping for this episode, because I was like, we've asked you a lot of questions. You've come on the show once a year for since 2018, and I was like, man, we've asked you a lot of questions. I went through some of the lists. I cannot believe that you keep coming back here. One, every time I text Father Anthony about this, he's like, "Oh no, this is the year that Aaron's too big for us."
Like, there's no way. There's no way he's gonna show.
No. I don't remember anything. You haven't asked anything annoying or anything. I can't remember any. Nothing stands out.
That's because it wasn't me. It was Father Anthony. Okay. Literally the first time you came on, like the whole premise of it was like, hey, we're trying to be joyful within Catholicism. Let's bring in the only Catholic comedian that we know. And Anthony just railed about stuff he was mad about for the first time.
That's the most comedian thing you can do. Just rant about something for half an hour. Yeah, I'm all on board with that.
Yeah, that's most of my homilies as well. I just yell at everybody.
Oh, I love that, dude. Yeah, do you go now? What's your homily like? Are you reading verbatim off of a script? Are you no notes, or are you just shooting from the hip? I mean, what's the plan up there?
Yeah, it's not quite shooting from the hip. Daily Mass is shooting from the hip. Usually.
Oh, yeah.
I might like hear the homily. I mean, hear the gospel as I'm reading it and come up with something. That's awesome. Yeah, for Sundays. I mean, I'll read over the readings. I'll pray over them throughout the week. Usually, like an hour to kind of like solidify what I'm going to say, and then I go up there and we see what happens. That's pretty much it. There's no notes or anything like that, and. Sometimes that works out for the better, sometimes not so much, but overall people seem to be okay with it. They haven't fired me yet. So,
are you worried at all? Is it even a concern about length of the homily? Do you even take that into consideration?
Not at all. Not anymore. I used to freak out about that. But I was like, you know what? We're all here. This is happening. And I think this is my big thing. There's a limit to this, but when people say a homily is too long, what they really mean is the homily's bad. Most of the time. Now, you can have an excellent homily. If it goes 20 minutes, people are going to be, ticked off at you probably.
Right.
But yeah, so as long as I try to put some effort to it, make it good, then I haven't gotten complaints about the length of the homily since I first started, my first year or two.
No, I exist. Yeah. You've gotten it more recently.
You can criticize everything I do. You don't count.
That's so funny that you gave as an example of a homily that's too long, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I love that because I have, my friends will talk about, man, somebody preached for an hour and a half. I'm like, what are y'all doing in there? I don't want to see Dave Chappelle for an hour and a half.
It's too long.
Let alone some dude in a suit.
Right.
Just a guy named Dave.
Yes, exactly. The Pope, you'd be like, I don't want an hour and a half. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
The sermon on the Mount was probably 12 minutes.
Yeah, max.
Had to have been, or else you start walking people.
Yeah.
Rough. So, Aaron, this is our Christmas episode. We all just celebrated Christmas, and I heard you talking about Christmas on the Nate Land podcast that you're on with Nate Bargatze and a few other friends. I heard that you talking about Christmas Mass and some of your experiences with Christmas Mass. And anytime you mention Catholicism on the show, they're all everybody on the show is a Christian, practicing Christian, and they always kind of poke fun at you at being Catholic. And that's fine. We're all friends here, right? But
sure.
You mentioned that they asked if you'd ever had fun at Christmas Mass. Was it fun going late? And you said, no, I've never had fun at Mass. It's not what it's for. So and then y'all moved on.
Yes.
Then y'all moved on. So I just want to give you a chance to, what do you think Mass is for then?
You go because you're supposed to go.
Hey, there you go.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I think there are two correct me if I'm wrong, but there are two mistakes people make. People will say, and I've heard politicians say this, I go because it makes me feel good. And you're like, well, that's not a good reason. And the other one is I go because I have fun. And you're like, have fun. That's such a disconnect. I see, I did a tour of mega churches years ago with John Chris, and we go into these churches and it's just, they have the stage production value, and it's like a concert, and that's just so far from what, growing up Catholic church was about. And it was never about that. It was, you don't go to have fun. If you're having fun, it's like, what do you go because you're supposed to go. And you can get things out of it, of course, but it's you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah. There's first of all, congratulations on the two most Catholic answers we've heard on the show in a long time. Do you have fun at Mass? No. I'm angry you asked about it. And you go because you're supposed to. What are we even talking about? I love it. I love both those things. And also, some of these mega churches are pretty impressive, but if you want to have fun, there's better ways to do it.
For sure.
Go to church. It's great if it's enjoyable, but there's other stuff to do.
Well, I think it's a hard sell because I think for something to be cool, definitionally, it has to be sort of countercultural, anti-institution, So I marketing the church is something that's cool. I'm just well, I'm not going to buy that. And I bet there are a lot of people out there that don't buy that at all. You almost make a stronger case being this isn't cool. It's not supposed to be cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's a stronger argument for people. I don't know. It's just, I got pretty fed up with it after a while. It was just, and there's nothing, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with it, whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about, but just growing up the way that I did, it just felt so off and so weird to me.
By that logic, should we make this the rest of this should just be as boring as possible then? Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm doing my part so far.
So part of this tradition of the three of us gathering together on Christmas is to riff and rant about things. But an added part of this tradition that Aaron didn't know about until I mentioned it right before we came on the air was that what happens often is that the three of us get together once a year on Zoom, but then Anthony and I see each other in person once a year. And like we save whatever Aaron Weber's newest special is, and we watch it or listen to it together.
Oh, wow.
So like we listened to your original Spotify, the audio special Shirts and Skins. We listened to that together. But then this one was a big year for you. You went on Comedy Central and had a special. We listened to it together. So congratulations on that.
Thanks, man. It was all because of this.
Oh, I took credit for it. Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't believe you. And I know you're joking, but I have to say there was an amount of pride, but also some questions that came up. But because on this show 1 year ago, we were closing up, and one of the nicest things you've ever done. We were closing the thing, and you were like, "Hey, let me share one more story," and it's one of my favorite stories ever shared on this show about your experience with a homeless man outside of the comedy club that you always go to, and the grins that popped up on me and Father Anthony's face when we're watching you tell that story on Comedy Central. We heard it first 6 months before, right here. I felt so special.
Hey, thank you, man. This is where it all started. I think that was the first. I was just starting to think about telling that as a joke on stage, or maybe I told it once or something before. But then, I told it to you guys. I remember thinking, all right, they're laughing. That's got something there. So then, that was like pretty quickly. I taped that and put it on. Kind of open with it too, if I remember, maybe first or second joke. Yeah, but I like that joke a lot.
It was fun. Like, and what's fun is like I've told that story to like friends, like just people, like not just on there. Like I'll be like at dinner parties, be like, "Hey, I heard this funny story about a homeless guy." You know? So
thanks, man.
I like that. My follow-up question was going to be like, I felt proud, but also I felt a little duped. I was like, "Oh, he'd been working on this for forever." But I feel special again that it was the first or second time that you shared it. That feels great. Yeah.
No, it's just about. I bet if you watched it and compared it, I mean, I'm telling it a little bit differently. I bet because it had just happened, but. Man. I mean, I think about the stuff I say ahead of time. I'm a little bit like Father Anthony doing a homily. You know, I give it like 5 minutes and then I just go out there and just go.
Don't let him dupe you. You know, we've done a few roasts of Father Anthony's homilies here on the show. Don't let him try to dupe you that he prepares for these things.
Okay.
I prepare. I'm just not very good. That's the sad thing. It's my job and I'm not good at it. I'm stuck here.
Everybody's stuck. They can't get out of it. You can't get out of it. Right. Good old Catholic Church institution.
We all suffer together. That's Catholicism. There you go.
So I have a question for Aaron, because I was thinking about this. There's another experience that I had that I haven't shared with either of you. Usually it's just like, oh, me and Father Anthony watch it or listen to it together. But for the first time, I got to share my love of stand-up comedy with my son. I have a 10-year-old, and he's never really gotten to watch stand-up comedy because most stand-up comedy a 10-year-old can't watch. But then, you're part of this Nateland podcast, and y'all did this Nateland showcase where I thought it was really cool. The way I learned about Nate Bargatze was from it was on a showcase where everybody got to do like a 25, 30-minute stand-up thing called The Stand-Ups on Netflix years and years ago. And I thought it was really cool that he's giving back now that he's this big name and he's helping other people kind of come up. But the cool thing about that is that it was clean, like just like you, just like Nate, like it was all these clean people. So we got to watch all of these stand-ups. Like my son, we got to watch it once a week. We sat there and there were two things, a compliment from my 10-year-old for each of you. One, to convince him that we were going to watch this together. I was like, hey, this is my buddy, Aaron Weber's going to be on this one. I get to talk to him once a year on our Christmas episode of the podcast. He's like, I don't care at all. He didn't care at all about what I said. But when I told him that Father Anthony thinks this guy is funny, he was like, let's watch it. All right. So that's the compliment for Father Anthony. The compliment for you is we watched this whole showcase, and there were the three co-hosts of the Nateland were all of the hosts of the show, including yourself. And then there are all these other comedians. He loved you. My 10-year-old loved.
Oh, that's great.
Everything about you. So it was just a really cool experience for me. So tell us a little bit about how you felt about that showcase.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun to do. That's what Nate wants to produce content and make stuff that kind of fit his sensibility, his brand of clean humor, which I've always taken as it's not for kids, but you can have the kids around.
Sure.
Then and we started the podcast. That was kind of the intention. I listen to a lot of comedians' podcasts, and if I had kids, I would not want to put it on when they're in the car, So that was sort of the goal, is to make something that the adults will find entertaining, and even some kids might find entertaining. But either way, you're not going to mind leaving it around them. So that was sort of Nate's idea with this showcase. He's like, I want to put some content out, let people do some sets that kind of fit my brand of stand-up. So I got to host a couple episodes. I think we did it in one night, but it was a couple episodes, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I think we're going to do more of those, and Nate's going to keep putting out content on his YouTube. I think there's a real, I don't know what the word for it is. There's a real space to be filled for that in comedy. Mm-hmm. And Nate's doing his best to fill that. So it's cool to be a part of it.
That's really important, being aware of not like your direct audience, but other people who will be listening. Right. It's not for kids, because disclaimer right now, if kids are listening to the podcast, fast forward like a minute, because I was doing a podcast with my buddy, a priest, and we just kind of flippantly talked about how isn't real, as just like a lot of moms and family, they listen to this in the car.
So mad.
So many people were so mad at us. We didn't even think about it. So it's important to have that awareness.
That's what we do on the podcast too. We talk about Santa in that way, just in case, because we have people write in to be, I listened to this with my 7-year-old or 8-year-old or something. So you never know who's listening in the background.
Have either of you ever, I guess Anthony just shared about it, but have you ever ruined it for somebody? I ruined it for a kid. I was sitting in a Mexican restaurant in San Antonio. I was in college, and it wasn't the first time or the last time being loud got me in trouble, but I was talking about it with a friend of mine. I was preparing to get married. She was prepared to get married. And we were talking about how are we going to deal with whenever we become parents, and I just yelled out, it's not real. And this little kid, and we were in a booth, this little kid that I didn't realize was there stood up and then looked at me, and I'm like, oh no, the mom was so mad. So at least Anthony had some distance from his. You ever ruined it for a kid, Aaron?
Yeah, you kind of look like Santa if he quit being Santa. Like he moved on to other things. No, I've never done that. I remember how it was ruined to me. I remember my sister told me, she said, whatever. And I go, well, okay. Well, that's kind of a bummer, but Easter Bunny's still.
Oh yeah.
Easter Bunny and Tooth Fairy, those are right. Yeah, obviously.
The far more reasonable characters in this pantheon. Easter Bunny, far more reasonable than Santa.
They probably are. Yeah, if you think about just the sheer math of how many houses Santa would have to visit versus the number that the Easter Bunny would visit, and I think I did the math at one point, and the Easter Bunny is a little more plausible. So I was like, I held on to that for maybe a little longer than I should have, already knowing the truth about Santa.
You just made me think of a question I've never thought about before. Which one of those two visits more non-Christian families? I think it's pretty even. Santa or the Easter Bunny for non-Christian family. The replacement Jesuses.
Yeah. Man, I need to find. I have this typed up somewhere.
Why?
Because I did look into this.
Why?
Because I think some of the deep background to the Nate Land podcast. I think at some point I thought we were going to talk about this on the podcast, and then I realized we're not going to talk about it.
It's not worth talking about, so we'll do it here. Right?
Oh. Yeah. So I have that somewhere. I should have pulled that up, but yeah. I think I look at just the numbers. Way more people. Santa visits way more people than the Easter Bunny, and also the Easter Bunny's not eating cookies when he gets there, right? There's also no discussion of how the Easter Bunny gets in the house. That's never talked about, right?
Yeah, Santa's got much more production value. He's got this whole operation going on, but the Easter Bunny has far more skill. Santa just places the presents under the tree, easy. Oh, the Easter Bunny has to hide stuff for every place he visits. He has to be clever
true.
About
I didn't think about that. That might balance out the time spent in each house. He has to hide stuff. Okay, yeah, but he's got everything in sort of prearranged baskets, so that's probably easier.
Okay, there's
just
that
to standardize the process there a bit. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's easier to litter than put things pleasantly under a tree.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't realize
we're getting into it today.
I didn't realize you had prepped on that. I'm also like, I'm currently sweating because I realized I'm literally telling the story about being loud and ruining SANTA for other people, and I just realized my kids are here and they heard me say stuff. So who knows? The end of this podcast might not go swell for me.
No. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. Just tell them you're playing along with me.
Just having jokes.
It's all Father Anthony's fault.
You say I had to talk to this non-believer on a podcast. And I had to play along. Had to play along with him.
A non-believer and a comedian. His name was Aaron. Okay, I had a question as I was, we were getting ready for this.
Sure.
And there's levels to this, right? But I would imagine that all of us have a similar experience of varying degrees. Father Anthony, as a priest, like people go and they hear him preach well or not well, depending on how well he prepared. But like he's a known person, both because of his podcast, but also like in the parish, so people feel like they know him, right?
Uh-huh.
Like he's told stories before of people approaching him, being like, "We have no relationship. Like, how are you just coming up and yelling at me about this?" But then I was thinking about like there's a lot of people that like listen to this podcast that like maybe I'll interact with some people through DMs and stuff, but even that's like a minute percentage of where people feel like they have a relationship with me, and they'll like when people kind of get it, like if they get me and what we're doing here, they're being nice about it. But then I'll have people come up and say mean things to me, like we're friends, and like I've never met them. But I was thinking about that with you. Is like, yeah, okay, I love that we get together once a year. It's one of my favorite traditions that we have here on the show. But like, I spend hours with you a week on the podcast. Like we Anthony and I like watch the stuff together. Like you're part of our life for a lot longer than the 30 minutes that we spend. So it's always this thing of like, I don't want to feel too familiar, but I don't want to feel like dismissive either. But like, so I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Like how like you're famous and getting more famous every year. It's going very well. Like how do you deal with like people like me or other people that are fans of yours that interact with you, but you're like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, I think it's all great. It's never like, don't ever feel like it should never be awkward for the person you're talking. They're putting their private life out there in public, right? They're the ones doing it. So, and they're doing it with the intention of people listening and people getting engaged. So don't ever feel awkward about it. I have to remind myself sometimes. I've met comedians who I've listened to their podcast for years, hundreds and hundreds of hours. And then I meet them and I want to be like, how's your wife doing? Like, I know their whole family dynamic. Right, yeah. I know they're thinking about having kids or something. I know that they were in Pittsburgh last weekend, but I have to remind myself, I don't know that person in real life. This is the first interaction I've had, but it should if people do that to me, and it'll happen a little bit after shows, people ask me like, how's Lucy or something like that, or how are the new cats or stuff that I've talked about on the podcast. But I put it out there. Like I know what I'm doing, and I hope I don't ever make them feel awkward for doing that. That's all part of it. The fact that anybody cares enough to listen to something and remember it and then reference it later. It's like, that's what you want when you put stuff out into the world, so I love it. And I've done it before. I've done it. Man, I'm trying to think who I like. This guy, Paul Verzi's a comedian I liked, and I listened to his podcast before I started doing comedy. I would write into his podcast, and I remember he read one of my comments on there. And then fast forward 3-4 years later, I'm in Dallas with him for a weekend, and I hadn't brought it up all weekend. And then the last night of the weekend, we're at Buffalo Wild Wings, and I was just like, "Hey, dude, I've been following you for." But I got to a point where I was comfortable enough to do that. But he was like, "Oh, great. You should have said something earlier." Because it's kind of weird that you're just holding out on this now. I don't know. Podcasting is an interesting dynamic with people. People really do know you and not just what you create. Like there's nobody ever walks up after a show or before a show or sees me at the airport or something and like references a stand-up joke of mine, which might be a testament to my act, but I think it's more of a testament to they know me better from the podcast and from like personal stuff.
I want you to tell. That's not true because it's literally how I started this call.
Oh, yeah. I
called you a nickname that you gave yourself in the Comedy Central.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, you're right.
And even that, like literally the conversation we're having, even that, I was like, is this going to be weird? I don't know. I'm just going to go for it and see what happens.
No, I have had to stop doing that joke.
Really?
Because it's just the amount of people calling me that after the show.
Oh, good.
And they would no, it's fine when you're doing it. I know you. I'm talking about when I'm trying to get these people to remember my actual name. And then they go, "Hey, good night, Doug." And then they laugh. And then they leave and I go, "I don't think they remember my actual name."
Right. I actually thought, like, in the Comedy Central special, I thought it was a really smart way to say your actual name on Comedy Central, because you start with the fake name and then you say, actually, my name is Aaron Weber. I was like, hey, look at him being clever.
I introduce a lot in that joke. That's why I like opening with it. I introduce my actual name. I say it a bunch. And then I say, I'm from Alabama and I live in Tennessee. Those are like the 3 key facts in that bit. And if I do that up top, then I can reference it later throughout the set. I don't have to keep reminding people where I'm from and where I live and stuff. So kind of works on 2 levels there.
I'm glad the 2 states you've lived in are the 2 things that you think define you.
Hey, I mean, what else defines us, dude?
True.
I don't know. Let's ask the Catholic priest.
A lot of things. The thing is, like, you are far kinder than I am, Aaron. Because when people approach me, it enrages me. Not because of like not because of anything about like the podcast, whatever. It's just like, how dare this layperson even approach me without my consent? Like I am a very busy person, and you want small talk with me? I could be saving souls at this very moment, and you're going to waste my time. So that's what bothers me about that, not like the podcast stuff so much.
Yeah. Father Anthony, you're like that video of the Pope of people trying to kiss the Pope's ring and it keeps swatting them away.
Exactly.
You ever see that? Get out of here, dude.
Father, do you have a minute? No, I don't.
No, I don't at all.
I'm very important.
What a great story, though. The Pope slapped me. Did y'all see that? I was on the news. That's awesome.
That was great. I would love to get slapped by the Pope. Dude, if I went, you know how good that would be for my career if I got slapped by the Pope on camera? I mean,
Doug Weber gets slapped by Pope.
Yeah, if I could have one person slap me on camera for my career, I think it'd probably be the Pope. That'd probably be the one. Dalai Lama, it's like, who cares about him, right? The Pope, if he got a really good open hand.
I get what you're saying.
Move on, but I'm just saying.
No. I think I want to disagree with you, because the Pope, we know that he slaps some people away. The Dalai Lama is literally known for peace and tranquility. If he slapped you, everybody would be like, what did he say?
Yeah, there might be some. I don't know. I don't know if you checked in on the Dalai Lama lately. I would Google him. He's been doing some weird stuff.
Oh. Well,
we don't have to get into it on here.
I have this image of like just Pope Francis just going ham and just beating the crap out of Aaron, and it's the Swiss Guard who are trying to pull the Pope off, not protect, like just like something like.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
dude.
That's what you need. That's the continent right there.
Yeah, I want to get trampled by the Papal Brigade. The Pope and that bubble thing, just run me over. Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be great. All right. Well, we were going to do grown-up Christmas list, but we already got Aaron's answer, what he wants for the new year.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know you could wish for that. I will. Yeah.
Fame in whatever way it comes.
There you go.
That would be the moment where you'd finally decline coming on this podcast. If you get slapped by the Pope or run over by the Pope, you'd be like, I'm too big for this now.
Yeah, I'd have been like, sorry, I'm doing Cardinal Dolan's podcast now.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm doing, what's the word on fire guy? Bishop
Robert
Barron.
Bishop Robert Barron.
Yeah. Sorry. I got a residency on his podcast. Y'all are done.
All right. Well, we are done. So thanks for being here. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas, Father Anthony.
Was that actually the end, or are you cutting it off?
I mean, we've gone long, and I want to let you. I mean, you brought up the Dalai Lama, and I was like, I got to get out of here.
I got a little self-conscious about the timing there. I felt like I made a joke, and then you're like, all right, we got to wrap it up.
So you're a comedian. I wanted you to end on a joke. I was trying to help you out.
Oh, you've been waiting for me. You're like, yeah, I've been waiting on you to get a laugh for a while.
Yeah, we're 28 minutes in. You finally started your jokes, and I was like, let's move it along.
I didn't know it had been that long. Time flies.
Yeah, it really does. Unless you want to drop another homeless guy story on us to close out our year.
Oh man, dude, I wish. I was in Brazil. For my brother-in-law's wedding, and I was just prime picking for the homeless people out there. I don't speak their language, but I was still giving them money. There was like a 9-year-old kid on the street in Brazil right when I landed, like within hours of me landing. I'm outside of a bar and kid comes up to me. He's got lollipops, and I know he's selling lollipops for money, right? But I don't speak any Portuguese, so he's just yelling at me and I don't know what you're talking about. I go, I do not know any of your and he grabs
that always helps.
He grabs the front of my shirt and he pulls me in and he goes, money, 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 money. And I go, okay, I got you right there, dude. I threw him some Brazilian dollars and we got on our way. But I'll try to have some more interactions with him, and I'll let you know next year, Christmas time.
That young man is going to grow up to be the Pope. And then he's going to
He might be. Yeah.
I know that people can listen to you every week on the Nateland podcast. Where can they come see you in person?
Yeah, AaronWeberComedy.com. I got a bunch of tour dates coming up. I'm not coming to Texas anytime soon. I was just out there a few months ago, but I'm going to Columbus, Ohio. I'm going to St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm going to Des Moines, Iowa. I'm going to Chicago. I'm going to Dayton, Ohio, Toledo, Ohio, Sioux Falls, Fargo, North Dakota, and then Dubuque, Iowa. I'm going to all the worst cities in America. So if you can come see me I'm just kidding. They're all great. Everywhere's great. And I love everybody and everything's perfect.
I love when you make those jokes and then have to go to those cities 2 months later. You keep getting yourself in this rut.
Well,
I hate that
trashing.
place.
I keep trashing. It's a running joke on the podcast now that I just make fun of Michigan State because I got some ad read and it was like scientists from Harvard, MIT, and Michigan State University. And I was like, oh, which one doesn't belong on that list? Like, what are we talking about right now? And it's a running joke. And I keep getting comments like this guy keeps sending, anytime Michigan State's in the news, he sends me articles about it. He's like, we're a good school. Anyway, I'm coming there in April. So if you're a Michigan State fan, come on out and we'll debate it live and in person.
Right. That's right. What you want.
Now I feel like I'm keeping y'all. I'm sorry. I'm just having fun talking.
No, I mean we could go on forever.
That's
okay. I'm trying to be respectful of your time, so you will come back next year.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. We've already gone on longer than Father Anthony's longest homily ever.
True. Yeah.
And we had fun and didn't get closer to God. So the exact opposite of what you want from church. So.
There you go.
Well, Merry Christmas, Aaron. Merry Christmas, Father Anthony.
Merry Christmas, guys. Thank y'all.
All right. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thank you for watching today. I hope that you enjoyed that conversation. If you did, check out all the other conversations with Aaron Weber in our Catholic Comedians series. And you can also check out our weekly podcast where we do Catholic humor and entertainment and faith all mixed up together. You can find that all on our YouTube channel. Hit the bell, hit the subscribe, leave a comment on today's video. Let us know what you think. And until next time, love you.